President Trump last week denied that he criticized British Prime Minister Theresa May in a newspaper interview, but that interview was recorded, which forced him to then have to apologize. That's a blunder that a former White House stenographer says could have been avoided if only the president allowed records of his meetings to be recorded. Beck Dorey-Stein is the stenographer. She worked under President Obama before resigning in the first months of the Trump administration. She shares her story in her newly released memoir called From the Corner of the Oval. Beck, that is a great title. Number one.
Thank you.
And number two, you have a great story. So just explain to us how that embarrassment with Theresa May could have been avoided if a stenographer had been present?
If a stenographer had been present, or if the stenographer was present, President Trump could have just said, hey, check the transcript. This is exactly what I said. During the Obama administration, President Obama would always just say, check the transcript. There's context.
Explain all of this. Explain what you had a fascinating job, okay, that you were always in the corner of the Oval. So you were unobtrusive, but you were recording everything. And explain before President Trump, historically, why that was so important and how, for instance, President Obama used you.
Sure. So White House stenographers are basically the first line of defense against the press to make sure a reporter doesn't exit the Oval Office and misquote the president. So stenographers would go in, we'd put our recorders down on the table, we'd find our chair on the other side of the Oval Office, and we'd get to sit and listen. And so from President Reagan through President Obama, the White House really utilized stenographers to make sure there was a record of everything the president said to the press.
And is it just for the press? Are stenographers just there as that check and balance on the press, or are stenographers present for all Oval Office meetings?
Not all Oval Office meetings, because we did want the president to be able to speak to other heads of state with a sense of honesty and not having to have everything on the record. There needed to be some sense of, like, this is just between us. But at the same time, President Obama was really good at not speaking on the record unless he was speaking on the record. Whereas President Trump likes to say, oh, this was off the record, or there's no recording of this, or we record everything. He's just constantly going back and forth, backtracking.
So then what happened when President Trump took office and you were still a White House stenographer? Then how did things change?
Well, President Trump, we've quickly learned, does not like microphones near his face, which is difficult because as a stenographer, we often had to do that. And so his White House and his press office often didn't include us in meetings with the press. So his first interview, there was no stenographer present. And even since then, even if a stenographer is present, he doesn't often say, check the transcript, because the transcript will reveal the truth.
What happened when Bill O'Reilly came for an interview at the White House?
Bill O'Reilly came for an interview. I covered that. And Hope Hicks came down and actually retrieved Bill, and he went and spent an hour with President Trump before doing the interview. And I'd never seen anything like that with 5 years of President Obama. Never during the day would President Obama use the sitting president's time to talk to an interviewer before the actual interview.
And it defeats the whole purpose of you being a stenographer. If they're going to go behind closed doors and have this entire meeting, then what's the point of ever recording it for posterity?
That's right. It also makes the president vulnerable, because then the press can say whatever they want. And that's why I loved whenever President Obama said, check the transcript. It was basically saying, check the truth. We have a recording of it.
You write in an op-ed, a New York Times op-ed, Mr. Trump likes to call anyone who disagrees with him fake news. But if he's really the victim of so much inaccurate reporting, why is he so averse to having the facts recorded and transcribed? It's clear the White House stenographers do not serve his administration, but rather his adversary, the truth. What do you mean?
I mean, if President Trump was really interested in fighting fake news, he would have a stenographer present and also would have that transcript ready to go and say, hey, here's this. We have the transcript. We can just refer to that. And that would quickly shut down any accusations about fake news. Instead, he leaves himself vulnerable to it by having off-the-record interviews with Bill O'Reilly and then having a recording of about talking about Theresa May and then disputing it later.
Why did you quit?
I quit because I couldn't be proud of where I worked anymore. I was so proud to serve under the Obama administration, and I felt like President Trump was lying to the American people and also not even trying to lie, like not even trying to tell the truth. He wasn't even going the extra mile to have the stenographers in the room.